Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another NKA class for you. Hopefully you'll get a lot of good information out of this one and hopefully get some enjoyment out of it as well. As you all know, this is a presentation of, on retirement as your new career. I always say, as somebody who retired a few years ago, that you are so used to somebody else putting stuff on your calendar. Now it's your turn, but you have to do it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen automatically. And if somebody else puts stuff on your calendar, then that's you. That's your problem. So you need to make sure that you get stuff on there that you want on there, and enjoy this time of your life. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kathy and Peggy, and they have been looked at this information from Dennis. I think most of you already know him, and let her go ahead and get started here. We're going to ask that any questions that come in, if you would hold those until the end, or to take a little note or something, and hopefully we will cover them. If not, we certainly will hopefully have some time at the end to answer any questions. So I'm going to send it over to Kathy and Peggy.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. Thank you all for attending. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and lots of food for thought will be presented today about retirement as your new career. As you can see, there's a picture right here of Dennis Betzer. This is actually Dennis Betzer's presentation. I am just his voice. So he writes these presentations and does all this research, but because of it's difficult for him to speak for long periods of time, I'm his voice for this. So, so everything I'm saying is the words of Dennis Betzer, who you can see is a picture of him right here. And then after Dennis speaks, it's a three-part presentation. One is about kind of helpful information about retirement. The second one are ideas of things you can do to stay active in retirement. And part three, you'll hear from Peggy and Dee Dee about like healthcare costs and healthcare challenges and other ideas about staying active in retirement. So Dennis's perspective, he's been married for well over 50 years. So his perspective in retirement is that of a married man, but of course there's different things to consider if you're widowed or single. Dennis also wanted me to state that he's not a financial expert, and this is not a financial presentation. He's not going to try to sell you anything. Financial decisions should be made in consultation, of course, with a financial expert. He's going to alert you to some of the pitfalls that you need to be aware of, and he'll suggest some of the things you can do to hopefully avoid them. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and start with Dennis's presentation. Think of retirement as your new career. Like any major career change, it requires careful planning for what lies ahead. Retirement will absolutely change your life. And retirement is very different for each person, like we said, depending on if you're married or single or your health status, things like that. But for most of you, throughout your adult lifetime, you and your spouse have always been apart for most of the day. But in retirement, you are going to be together all day and all night for the rest of your life. And Dennis's wife said when he retired, "Oh my God, he's here all the time." And it was a very large adjustment. So each partner is going to need their own space. Sometimes you just need to get away and learn to enjoy time by yourself or with a friend. Having other couples or a friend to spend time with is crucially important. Your financial stability can drastically change when you retire, and you no longer have the income one or both spouses had when you're working. And I think Dee Dee and Peggy are going to talk a little bit about that. So you must learn to live within your means. You can't spend money like you did when you were working. You must learn the difference between what you want and what you need. You must be careful not to spend money that you do not have by using credit cards or thinking, I will pay for it with my next raise or by finding a higher paying job. You are going to have unexpected expenses for things like auto repairs or auto replacement, a new roof, new water heater, new furnace, new air conditioner, new dishwasher, new washer, et cetera, et cetera. Dennis built his house 35 years ago, and he has replaced all of those things at least once, and most of them twice. all since retiring 20 years ago. Inflation, as we're very aware of, is the enemy of retired people with fixed incomes and no COLA. And this COLA is not a drink. It's a retirement income with a cost of living increase. And yes, Social Security income has a COLA built in, but most retirement incomes from a company retirement plan do not. Remember the 1978 inflation? Well, what about inflation today, which is at comparable levels? Keep in mind that adjustable rate first and second mortgage payments will increase with inflation. Your house appraised value will go up with inflation, and that will increase your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance. You will also pay more for your automobile insurance on each car or truck that you own because accident repairs cost more. These increases even happen during years with low inflation. The Idaho Property Tax Reduction Program, called the Circuit Breaker Program, does reduce property taxes for qualified applicants. The amount of reduction is based on total household income for the previous calendar year. If you qualify, the property taxes on your home and up to 1 acre of land may be reduced. And so to find out more, you can just Google the Idaho Property Tax Circuit Breaker Program. If you run up your credit cards to maintain the lifestyle that you enjoyed when working, your adjustable rate payments are going to go up with inflation. Credit card companies charge high interest rates, especially if you miss a payment. And the government allows credit card companies to charge much higher interest rates than they allow on other loans because of the high default rates on credit card balances. The average interest rate on US credit cards as of December of 2021 is 16.13%. So keep in mind that 401k withdrawals are added to your income for taxes. A friend of Dennis's made a big withdrawal from his 401k when he retired to pay cash for a new car, and he got a very nasty surprise on tax day. If you get into financial trouble or you miss working because you're bored, you may want to look for a part-time job. And if you Google, there's lots of opportunities for part-time work and full-time jobs for people who are older on the internet. Time, as Sheena said, there was never enough time to get things done when he was working. But now after 20 years of retirement, there's too much time with nothing to do. Depression, be prepared for this to happen. It can sneak up on you. Don't sit at home and feel sorry for yourself. You need to be physically active or you will vegetate and waste away. Make new friends. You are going to need friends in retirement. I guarantee it. Think about senior centers. They have some really great programs, and they're a great way to meet people your own age group and a great way to make new friends. Think about joining the YMCA or a health club because they have lots of programs besides just exercise programs. When you get up in the morning, you need to have something to look forward to doing. Think of things you would like to have done when you were working, but you couldn't because you did not have enough time to do them. And now Dennis has come up with a list of all these things that you can do in retirement. And the first one he listed was New Knowledge Adventures. So as you are part of New Knowledge Adventures, this is offered every semester, every spring and fall. And I know that they're planning to do in-person classes, at least in the Treasure Valley. And I don't know where you're watching this from Idaho, but there's also New Knowledge Adventures in Pocatello and in Idaho Falls. Consider volunteer work. Sheba he's suggested is a wonderful way to get involved as a Medicare counselor. You can get free training and you can help people with their Medicare choices. He also suggests that you make an appointment with Sheba, which stands for the Senior Health Insurance Benefits Advisors. It's through the Department of Insurance, to review your Medicare options and benefits. It's a very important thing to do every year, and it's a free service. You can Google volunteer opportunities in your city in Idaho and get a list of organizations that are looking for volunteers. You also can just make your own volunteer job. He volunteers to make presentations and slideshows, such as this one right here. And he did one on photography and one on Tales from the Courtroom. And then he used to take these presentations and show them in assisted living facilities. So he created his own volunteer job. The food bank, he says, always needs volunteers. Meals on Wheels needs volunteers. Idaho Public Television. And he suggested AARP needs volunteers. Also, New Knowledge Adventures is a volunteer-run organization and always needs volunteers to facilitate classes and to teach classes. When you're retired, you can travel. You can take time planning that important road trip that you always wanted to do. With digital music, you can figure out how to make a playlist for, depending on what your mood strikes, and where you can listen to your favorite songs. Explore the roads you time, or you had no reason to go there. Have you ever wondered, where does that road go? Well, now's your time to figure that out. Make a point to visit every single county in Idaho. Take time to visit Yellowstone National Park with friends and to share the gas expense and to rent a 2-bedroom suite and split the costs. Visit every state in the United States, which I know Dennis recently completed, or just make a point to visit Alaska and Hawaii. Take time to visit some of the parks in your area. You know, there's all these beautiful parks in Boise, and depending on where you live, such as the Catherine Albertsons Park, where, as you can see, Dennis is a photographer, where he does a lot of his wildlife photography. Julia Davis Park, the Wilson Ponds in Nampa, the Deer Flat National Wildlife Sanctuary. So you might want to take notes about all these suggestions of places that you can spend your time. The World Center for Birds of Prey. In Nampa, the Warhawk Air Museum. Go to Idaho City, they have the natural hot springs there that you can visit and soak in, but you need a reservation. Take a tour of the Idaho Capitol building, the Boise Art Museum, the Idaho State Museum, the Hispanic Cultural Center of Idaho, the Idaho Military History Museum, the Idaho Black History Museum, the Basque Museum and Cultural Center in Boise, the Idaho Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial in Boise, the Old Idaho Penitentiary Museum, the Idaho Botanical Gardens in both the summer and the winter, with the Winter Garden Aglow. Go look for your local theaters and attend plays. And then he says, finally, just go get a hobby, but make sure that it's one that you can afford. If you're looking for a hobby, the craft stores like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Craft Warehouse will offer all kinds of classes that you can explore hobbies, such as Joanne Fabrics offers sewing classes, knitting, crocheting classes. So if you ever wanted to pursue that, they can teach you there. Also, Home Depot and Lowe's also offers training videos and sometimes classes. The gardening centers, those will offer all kinds of classes, both in person and online, of how to take care of your garden, how to resolve problems in your garden, how to take care of your lawn. It's also time to continue to upgrade your computer skills. So you can do this by Googling how to do X on your computer and really start trying to figure out things. Or if you have a grandchild, have them try to help you and teach you how to do these kinds of things. He also said you can spend a lot of time pursuing jigsaw puzzles. There's the meetup groups. If you go to Meetup, you can find local meetup groups in town. He also started his own discussion groups. And he said that he has lunch with a friend every Wednesday for more than 20 years. And they decided that you shouldn't discuss religion and politics. So they decided, let's have a discussion group where all we discuss is religion and politics. So that's Dennis's meetup group. If you look into the theaters, you can find movie passes, cheap movie tickets, especially the matinees. I know someone that got a movie pass, and they're going to the movies absolutely all the time. So sometimes several times a week because of this unlimited movie pass. He said in retirement, now is the time for you to finally get in shape because you have the time to do it. One idea is to get in a routine of early morning walks, but especially watch out for tripping hazards. like uneven sidewalks or slippery sidewalks, of course, in the winter. And or if you go to Weezer, Peggy, remember how uneven those sidewalks are. So have fun, but be safe while doing it. Now's the time to float the Boise River or to take those hikes you've always wondered about. There's hikes for all different levels that you can explore. Fishing, now is the time to spend the time you wanted to go fishing or camping. And there's NK classes on how to camp on a tank of gas, or how to find out about the campgrounds in Idaho and how to pursue those reservations. He said sometimes you might want to consider doing a timeshare, but be very careful and be aware of the consequences if you do join a timeshare in retirement. And the Better Business Bureau, if you Google it, did a presentation on how to watch out for timeshares and to get the most out of it. I know a lot of retirees that this is the time to really read all those books that you wanted to, or to reread the books that you've always wanted to. And a lot of you are familiar with Kindle, but when Dennis discovered Kindle, he couldn't believe about all the different books that are out there and how easy it is to read them and how affordable it is per month. But there's also the library, to explore the library, to talk to the librarians, to find out about all the books that you've wanted to read, the magazines, the DVDs you can rent. So just spend time in the library trying to explore new ideas. Most of you probably are aware of the streaming devices such as Netflix and other programs, but you'll have time to enjoy those now. You can learn to paint by taking art classes, either in person or online or through community programming. Now's the time to write a memoir for your grandchildren about your life. It's a time that you can learn to play a musical instrument, as I know Dee Dee, who you're about to hear from, learn to play piano and really perfect it in retirement. Now's a time to learn to play golf or other sports you've been wanting to do. Learn about photography, join a camera club, spend time learning how to really edit all those photos or how to sort all the photos, or it's also time to go through your boxes and boxes and albums of photos. Also, it's a time to learn foreign language. It's also learning a foreign language is a very social opportunity, because the foreign language groups will get together and maybe share foreign food and have the conversation club. So it's a really good way to stay social. Also, learning how to swim. I guess he learned to swim, and I said it could save your life. So now you have the time to do that. It's a time, if you like crafts, well, learn to make things and figure out a way to sell them on the internet or at craft shows. It's a time to play cards or games with friends, such as Hand and Foot or Texas Hold'em. Joining a bowling league is another way to stay active, or joining a choir is another way to stay active. You will have time to research your ancestry, your family tree, take a class on how to do that, how to approach that. And there's all kinds of local resources here in town about genealogy and that kind of research. Learn the species of birds in your area and enjoy the bird watching and enjoy attracting birds in your yard, and learn how to do that. Become a poll watcher, or go door to door to support the candidate of your choice is another way to stay active. And then, he ends with the final things is now's the time to think about estate planning. It's time to learn about having a will and a living will. And he ends his part of the presentation with make a bucket list of, now that we've had this presentation, you've probably got some new ideas. Make a bucket list of those kinds of things that you want to pursue as you pursue your new career of retirement. I mean, Dennis is at it for 20 years and he said he's a real expert at it. So those are the ideas that he wanted to share with this presentation. And now we're going to hear from Peggy and Dee Dee, who are going to talk about other ideas and also some of the health issues and some of the health costs as you plan for retirement.
So now that you're retired or planning to retire, there are some things that really can affect you pretty hard. And one thing is a change in your health condition. You may get a diagnosis that may change your life forever, and it may be costly. Some of the things that can happen is you could become a diabetic, either type 1 or type 2. You can develop glaucoma like I did, and it really affects your eyesight. Knee and hip surgeries are very possible for anybody in our age group. I just recovered from a knee surgery. Heart surgeries, you could very possibly have to undergo open heart surgery. If you are unlucky enough to suffer a stroke, you can have some lifelong changes in your entire systems that will affect you. Breast cancer and prostate cancer are very likely in our age group. People become diagnosed with MS or even Alzheimer's. And all of these diseases can affect your entire life, how you're able to live your retirement, and then the costs that are associated with them. Your premiums are going to go up. The cost of your drugs are going to go up. So I'm going to ask Dee Dee Wilson here to talk about some of the things that you're going to encounter with Medicare and some of the different plans and things. I just want to interject there. I have a daughter-in-law who's just 60 years old. She was a type 2 diabetic. Now she's a type 1. But her doctor handed her a prescription for Trulicity, and her copay for 1 month was $800. And my daughter-in-law said, I can't afford that. And she refused it, did without the Trulicity, but now she is an insulin medicated diabetic, and her insulin is a lot cheaper, even though the price of her insurance is very high. But anyway, this is Dee Dee Wilson. She used to be the state operations person for AARP Idaho, and she is a past SHIBA volunteer, and that's the Senior Insurance Benefit Advisors. And these people are very, very good advisors. They do not sell insurance. They simply tell you like it is. So anyway, Dee Dee, if you'd like to talk to the people.
Yes, hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you today and share some of the knowledge that I gained while I was a SHIBA volunteer for 8 years. It was really eye-opening for me as I learned about Medicare, how it works, and how convoluted it could be. That's the word I would use for Medicare. It's convoluted, but it's not impossible to understand. And it's very, very important that you do understand how it works. And you begin with the basics and build from there. First thing, make sure your doctor takes Medicare. Not all doctors do. If you're not 65 yet and you find out your doctor doesn't take Medicare, find one who does before you become eligible for Medicare. Begin to educate yourself about Medicare months before you are eligible. As I said, it's not impossible to understand, but it can become very confusing. If you are married, both you and your spouse should do the learning together. Don't depend on one of you to be the Medicare expert. What if that person becomes disabled or, unfortunately might die, and there you are, and you are totally just totally puzzled about what's going to happen next. And that could be a very frightening experience. There are a lot of things not covered by Medicare, and these are the things that are going to cost you money, and you need to plan for it. The idea is to plan so that you are not putting yourself in a very bad financial situation. Eyes, ears, and teeth, the things that are bound to go as you age, are not covered by Medicare. I had the experience of people telling me that they thought maybe I had a hearing loss. And the last thing I wanted to do was have hearing aids, because to me, that was absolutely the thing that told me I was an old person. But I read an article actually from an AARP article that said there was a connection between hearing loss and dementia. And that frightened the dickens out of me. So I made an appointment, and yes, indeed, I did have a hearing loss in the upper ranges. Well, how was this going to be corrected? Well, it was corrected after I paid $5,300 for the hearing aids that I needed. Not just that, you have to have insurance on those hearing aids. That was over $420. As some of you who do have hearing aids may have experienced, hearing aids and pandemic masks do not go together. It is very easy to lose a hearing aid, which I did, by taking off that mask as you leave the grocery store, and it could drop in the parking lot. You will never find it. You file your claim, and the new hearing aid is $400, and then there's insurance on that hearing aid too. So this is major bucks. But you do need, if you have a hearing loss, you do need hearing aids. Also, dental. Maybe when you were working, you had a pretty good dental plan. A lot of Medicare Advantage plans have what they call dental coverage. It is basically preventive coverage. It's your x-rays once a year and 2 cleanings, and maybe a discount on the other procedures that you might need, fillings, crowns, etc. I have an in-house dental plan with my dentist. However, one year, as happens to older people, I had 2 teeth that cracked. I still have old silver fillings from when I was a child. The crowns are about $1,300 each. And then I needed, for one of them, a major root canal. My dental costs for that year were well over $4,000. Believe me, you've never met a person who takes better care of her teeth nowadays than I do. Be sure you talk with your spouse, if you're married, about how your financial situation might change if one of you should die, if one of you needs to go to assisted living, if one of you needs long-term care. These can be uncomfortable conversations, but they are very, very important to have. And they will allow you to sleep a little better at night, because knowledge is power. And if you understand how things work or what might happen, you will rest easier. Also, if you're getting ready to retire, and certainly when you do retire, be aware that family relationships and things might change. You might have a grown child, a grown up, one of your kids who's grown up. They may need to move back. Maybe there's a divorce and you need to step in for childcare. There are a lot of things that can change. Maybe grandchildren need to be helped and encouraged, or maybe even little tutoring and things like that. Be open to these things, and just keep in mind, we're put on this earth to help each other, but it will change the family dynamics in your own life. Getting back to Medicare, I would encourage everyone to work with the Idaho Department of Insurance, the SHIBA volunteers. They are certified for having knowledge of how to evaluate plans and help you understand them and walk you through them. This is free. They are not selling you anything. And I should mention, be aware of all those postcards and letters you start getting in the mail. offering a free lunch and all kinds of Medicare advice. They are trying to sell you something. Always, keep that in mind. What is the hidden agenda? Sheba has absolutely no hidden agenda. I really, really value the knowledge I gained by being a Sheba volunteer. I mean, I have counseled people while waiting in a grocery line to check out. And it is a wonderful feeling to know that you helped them and you empowered them. So when you start learning how Medicare works, you will find out that you really have to become knowledgeable about co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance. Many of you, I know, understand these things from the health insurance you had through employment or through the policy you had for the Affordable Care Act. Medicare Advantage plans from private companies change every year. You have to evaluate your plan every fall during the open enrollment period. There are things that are necessary for you to understand how they work, especially if you get diagnosed with some terrible cancer and you require things like chemotherapy. What part of Medicare covers that? Well, these are very powerful drugs. Is chemotherapy covered by your prescription drug plan? No, it isn't. It's not covered by your drug plan. It's covered by your Part D plan, which has usually about a 20% copay. You will fulfill your deductible in just a few months by having to pay 20% of chemotherapy or infusion drugs. The ways to understand how drugs, what part of Medicare pays for your drugs, it depends on the venue. Are you standing at your kitchen counter? That comes from your Part D. Do you have to go to a clinic? That comes from Part B. Are you a patient in a hospital? That comes from Part A. So it's the venue that determines what part of Medicare pays for that drug. This is, to me, this was the easiest way to understand it. And as I say, the word for Medicare is convoluted, but not impossible. So, Peggy, are there any other things that you would like to talk a little bit about?
Perhaps they've got some questions they would like to ask us about anything here. If you want to talk about Medicare A, B, C, D, you could ask questions about that. So Kathy, we'll turn it back over to you and Sheena and see if there's some questions people would like to ask.
I mean, I would love for you all to share, like, how did you all stay active in retirement? Like, how did you make that adjustment from, you know, from working all the time and raising a family to finding things to do and stay busy and active in retirement?
Do that, Peggy. How did you stay active?
Yeah, who's telling me? Okay, let's see. Well, I can answer that by saying one thing that I did is I started volunteering for AARP when I was 65, I think, and I'm still volunteering for AARP, but it was lots of fun and I've met so many new people. So that was one thing that I did, was volunteering for AARP.
Yeah, and I had always been singing in my church choir. So I certainly continued that. I come from a musical family and had always wanted to play the piano my whole life. So at age 72, I started taking piano lessons. I mean, I could read music and things, but this became such a fulfilling thing for me to do. And what it did, it structured my day for me. I had worked like 40 years. So I was, every morning I get up, man, what am I going to focus on? I'm not going to a job. Well, I knew I could sit down at the piano, do all the technical work, start practicing, start learning new things. And it helped me structure my day. And of course, I had all my friends in choir, any of you who's ever joined a singing group, you get about 20 or 30 instant friends. There's nothing like a singing group that erases all differences in backgrounds, in age, social, economic backgrounds, whatever. Singers are singers. There's a real bond there. I did have the good fortune to learn a foreign language. And so I got satellite TV service that had international coverage so that I could watch the news in German every day and other programs too. Great drama, if you can imagine Law and Order in German. This was great for me. It kept my interest and my facility in speaking alive. I learned all kinds of new vocabulary, and anybody who does know a foreign language, that learning a foreign language, it actually creates new synapses in your brain. So talk about keeping your brain active and able to learn new things. It helps you learn new things. So, I don't know how I ever was able to go to a full-time job every day, but I love being retirement. I love my involvement in music. It's very fulfilling. It has introduced me to a lot of wonderful new people of every age group. So that's how I've stayed active. And I'm now on an exercise program. The pandemic kind of put a dent in that, but my friend Peggy here, she was talking about recumbent bicycles. I thought that was pretty nifty, got one of those, and that's part of my daily routine also. So of course we both garden. My yard looks great. I love planting flowers. I love growing vegetables. It all depends on what your own interests are. You can find an interest that maybe one of your grandchildren loves to do too. It's wonderful to have those intergenerational relationships. So Kathy, that's my life in a nutshell, and I love it.
Wait, what about other people? Like, what are some things that thanks for sharing that, Judy. But those who are attending, like, what in the chat, maybe what are some other things that you would share with our participants today about retirement and how to stay active and what people should know about retirement?
Well, you do have to have a very good idea of your annual expenses and your annual income. And I know I had, what I got, like Quicken, I had gotten that program and tracked all my expenses for a number of years before I ever retired, so that I knew exactly what it cost, what my house was costing me, what my car was costing me, home maintenance, et cetera. And like Dennis, I'm going through that, replacing all the appliances now. But I had planned for it. So what can I say? But it is important that you know how much money's coming in, how much money's going out. And when I had originally planned, monthly expenses, I didn't really have any subscription. They didn't really have a lot of cable TV at that time. yeah, like internet connections. That was an expense you didn't, you weren't planning for 20, 25 years ago. And streaming services, replacing your laptop every few years, getting a new iPad, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things. Know that there are going to be things that you will want to have and will help you have a fulfilling retirement that we don't even know about nowadays, but they are going to come about, and you will want to be part of that. Also, when you travel, if you're able to travel, hotels, food, gas, all of that is expensive. So you just need to constantly be educating yourself on what things really cost. Also, how you don't have to worry about career clothes anymore, but you do have to, get a nifty new pair of jeans and some great casual lounging things. And if you're like me, you may have things in the closet, but you always want to have something a little bit new. So just, yeah.
I think it sparks you up if you got something new in there. Yeah.
How about you, Peggy?
Well, I was going to say, as a person who's lived there 84 years entirely in the state of Idaho, the one thing about Idaho with our 4 seasons, you can always find something to do outdoors during our 4 seasons. If you drive to McCall, it's different in the fall, the winter, and the spring. It's always lovely. And there's so many other places, if you haven't been down to the Bruno Canyon, down past the Sailor Creek bombing range, I'd say look at the Bruno Canyon. It's a fantastic place, but in Idaho, there's always something fabulous to do all 4 seasons of the year.
What about other people in our audience? If you would share anything you think you would like people to know about staying active in retirement, that would be great, and we can read those. Put that in the chat. Let's see.
This is Sheena. One thing is that speaking of the clothes that Dee Dee was talking about, you really don't need the 10 or 12 suits that you have in your closet like you needed when you were working. So, keep 1, maybe 2 or something, but don't any of that stuff that's in there, that's your special, nice, really nice stuff, wear it. Go ahead and wear it. It doesn't matter whether you're going to the library or where, just wear it anyway, because there's really no reason to keep any of that stuff in there. And start, if you don't already do this, and many people did even when they were working, editing, start getting rid of stuff out of your house. Just let some of that stuff go. Here's a shocker to some of you, and maybe the rest of you already knew. Your kids don't want your china. They just don't want it. And so if it doesn't go in the dishwasher, they have no use for it. And if it doesn't go in the microwave, then they don't want it. So while you're working very diligently to keep it saved for them, now would be a good time to ask them if they wanted it. And if they say yes, great, here, you can have it right now. Give us that stuff away.
That's true. Like, they are very different.
Thanks for that tip, Sheena. I know somebody who cleaned out her closet and donated it, and ended up volunteering at the thrift store, and that's how she stays active in retirement. So you never know what will happen when you clean out your closet.
Yeah, nice.
I know also Dennis mentioned in towards the end of the presentation that you read, Kathy, about, making a will, making, like a living will, make sure you and your doctor work out, how, if you can't be resuscitated, do you want to be resuscitated, all of those uncomfortable things. Make sure there's also a financial living will, so that you don't make things very difficult for those who have to kind of either settle your estate or decide, how the long-term care you need now is going to be paid for. Make sure people know where things are. And I put a little note towards at the end of my will, just instructing my son and daughter-in-law who to contact, also who I would like to have, the opportunity, if they want to come and pick out something in my house, something to remember me by. But I mean, these are important. It's, I think, important for you. I've also told them, like Sheena mentioned, that I understand the lovely things that I've collected. I have beautiful china, crystal, silver, all of that, none of which anybody will want. That I made sure they understood that's a part of my life, and I don't expect it to be part of their life.
Oh, that's good.
And to just sort of take the onus off them. I don't want anybody feeling guilty because they didn't want Grammy's silver, things like that. But
good.
just keep in mind that these are things of your life, not their lives. And I think you have to do that separation. Doesn't mean you don't love them. They don't love you. It's just that you want to just make things easy. You don't want any bad memories, once you've gone beyond. So.
That's great. Thanks, Dee Dee.
So we have a comment here, like some advice, try different adventures, big and small. Going to the public library, the senior center, etc. They all have free activities. She went to a fish and game fishing session in the rain last week. So there's always cool things to discover. Anything else people want to add before we?
Well, also, if for those who are married, if your husband becomes disabled or another, make sure you understand about how often you need to get the oil changed in your car, about tire rotation and things like that. And for the men in the group, make sure you understand how the washer and dryer works. Make sure you know how to cook, and that yes, bathrooms do need to be cleaned. And things like that. Just, help each other out. If you can, I think it is a new discovery when you actually find out how a car works, or for the men, what it takes to put a meal together.
I have a wonderful brother-in-law, and the only thing he really does is put gas in the car and run the TV. Other than that, this man, he was a wonderful teacher and a coach, but this is all he does. And my sister has to do the other 99 and 9/10%. And I said to her, what will happen to Stan if you drop dead? And she said, I don't know, but he doesn't do one thing. Just a really sweet guy, but all he does is run the TV and gas the cars up. That's true. Cheeseburger Stan is what I call him. That's what God is. Yeah. Arteries included. Yeah. And cheeseburger.
Well, Sheena, do you want to conclude?
This is really interesting.
Well, we are at the very end of our session here. I think there's only one more class on May 12th about legal and financial ideas about when you're dealing with Alzheimer's. So we only have the one class left, and hopefully we will interest you in some classes in the fall. And believe it or not, it's already time for us to start working on that. If you have any other questions or comments, please don't hesitate to give either Kathy or I, any one of us, a call. And we will hopefully be able to answer any questions there. Anything else? Any other comments from anybody? This has been really refreshing.
Should we have some comments from Chris?
Okay.
I didn't see it. I can.
So Chris is saying like auto maintenance repair would be a great class for people to pursue. So we just
Fred
want to
did
put a
that
plug
one
in for that, is that like New Knowledge Adventures, NKA, you know, we're always looking for class suggestions. And if you
Absolutely.
are feeling like you want something to do in retirement, please consider NKA as a place to volunteer, to either take classes or to select our classes or to facilitate our classes. We always could use that support. So we will definitely, Chris, take your suggestion into heart, the curriculum committee, and thank you for that. So with that, Sheena, I think we're ready.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. We're going to go ahead and cancel out here and leave the meeting.